everyone. I'm Imogen Heap. I'm very happy to be here today. It's all quite last minute. So what I just thought I would do would be to show you how I'm doing my live sessions at the moment. So I'm on tour, and we're doing a city a week where we do a show with like 3 other members of the band. We're all on keyboards and computers, and a bit of guitar as well, and some drum pads. And then, and then we're also doing workshops around something that I'd also like to talk to you about today, which is an identity for music makers, so that we can own our own unique identity and that we can build our music creative business life from one point, so that we can navigate through the various different services that we might use and own that identity and own our data so that we can potentially earn money off it in the future. But first of all, I was just going to introduce the tech. So I'm wearing some MI.MU Gloves, MI.MU. We've developed these over about 8 years, and I really wanted to be able to reach inside my laptop and inside the software that I love, but without having to sit here and twiddle knobs. I like twiddling knobs, but I also like just being out here in the front. So what the gloves have, I think there's a camera on me somewhere. Here. Where's the camera so you can see the gloves? Camera. Oh, there we go. Where is it? Is it over there? Okay, wow, they're so big. Right, so basically you have a glove, and it has a button here. Can you see the button? There's a button there. There's a light for feedback. It's got an IMU and a Wi-Fi direct to my router, which is here. And then we've got a little battery and a battery meter. And then we've got 8 bend sensors. So we've got 1, 1, and 2 on each of the middle fingers. And then we've got a little hole here, so I can do some percussive clapping, which has the unfortunate name of the clap hole, which is not good. And then a little button to turn it on and off. And it also has buzzers for feedback inside here, somewhere. Yeah, inside there. So it kind of goes or depending on what you program it to do. And then on my screen, I have what we call Glover, which is our interface to get into any kind of DAW, like Ableton, which I'm using, but use it to Max or whatever you want to use. And it spits out from Glover OSC and MIDI. So we have this environment, and on the left here you see my left glove and my right glove. And basically I have different postures. So at the moment I've got open hand, got fist, which is reversing at the moment, puppet hand, 1 finger point, 2 finger point, secret finger, and then we've got pinch and rock. And so we've got that on both sides. And then we've also got yaw, so I'll set north. I currently set north by basically doing double rock sign. And that means that everything is from relative to the front point. And then I can have pitch, and I've got roll as well. So you can basically, can call these whatever you like. Like I haven't actually trained this one yet, because it doesn't show, but if I did, train that one, and now it goes to T finger. Very British. You can choose whatever postures you want. It's customizable for you. You can have whatever naughty signs you want, or whatever signs. And then, so basically you have all of those combinations. Oh, and you also have drum hits. So that's what keeps kind of going off, these little lights on my screen with the arrows. By the hand. They're like different. They're not entirely independent of one another. Sometimes they are. And you can set thresholds to how much. At the moment they're set very low, which is why they're always going off. Okay, so then on the left hand here in the scenes, you can basically set what you want this environment here, which is the all of this stuff here, the mapping stuff. Sorry, can you hear my reverbs and stuff or not? Okay. Maybe Petra just mute everything apart from my voice. Apart from my dry voice. So on the middle one here, I can hear in my headphones, so it's distracting. You've got in, out. Okay, so I'm not going to go into like loads of detail about Glover, but it's basically really amazing. And you can map pretty much anything you can imagine with the gloves, with anything that you can map inside Ableton. So I'm going to mute the gloves now, so that I don't accidentally map something, which is really annoying when that happens. So here in Ableton, I've got like a load of mappings on the left-hand side, and each one of them correspond to whatever. So here might be, I've got this thing called Jellyfish, which is designed by this awesome man called Adam Stark, and he works with the Gloves team, and you can see they're mapped to these MIDI numbers, these MIDI control changes. And then if I go to Jellyfish in here, hello, one-handed jellyfish, you'll see that it has like, different MIDI numbers. Okay, so that's pretty obvious. And then, so what Jellyfish does is when I do Puppet Hand, so I'm going to unmute now, and we can unmute it in the house. So when I do this, you see on the top right, it's kind of, it's going Puppet Hand, off, Puppet Hand, off. So when I do Puppet Hand, it's sampling my voice. So I could go like A, D, E, D, A. So basically moving along the waveform. For as long as I catch it. And I think it's also moving left and right as well. Because I've got my your left is turning the buffer position. So that's the buffer position, but it's also moving the panning here. There, pan. Yeah. And it's quite fun. It's not like, you could pan with your right hand. I've also got volume, yeah. And I haven't actually got it mapped on this one, but you can also, with with Jellyfish, you can like change the speed. I haven't got it mapped on this one, but you can like change the grain length, and change the speed between the grain length. And then you can also map your colours, so this one, when I go like that, well, they're kind of meant to go. This one looks a bit orange, actually. But anyway, why is that? Anyway, it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter. Right, calm down. Okay, so basically when I do that, it's meant to be red, and then that one's red. And then it goes off when I'm not recording. But you basically put all that stuff in. And then if you want to have anything else, like I'm actually using Reactor for my like long reverb and a reverse in this particular patch, in this particular session. So I've got my right hand effects, and I'm using OSC with Reactor. So I'll show you the patch. So basically I'm using this kind of reverb. And when I, you can see the mix is kind of going from 0 to. And then I've also got a little reverse. So, so I'm just activating reverse. It's just on a constant like buffer. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Always fun. And so, I've also got on my right hand, I've got my harmonizer, which is set to a key, which at the moment is set to a key of a song that I'm going to sing later. And I'm just doing that by bringing it up and down with my one finger point. And then what else have I got? Oh, and then I've got loops over on this side. This is a loop. Oh, no, I'm going to take out the. I haven't got it in the right. I've got it in the wrong scene. Basically, so see on the left of these like little scene areas. So this basically says all of the mappings in this scene, all of the mappings in this scene. And when I do the song at the end, I'll show you this screen, so you'll see it kind of flipping between scenes. And I can do that by like doing an action, like that. That's kind of flipping through scenes at the moment. I've also got a button, which is setting reset. It's kind of stopping everything, recording and deleting everything I've done on this one. So I've also got a looping thing, which is basically la 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 Um, I was also going to show you quickly another song. Just how, no, I'm not going to sing it. Yeah, I'm not going to sing this one, actually. I just wanted to talk you through, because I'm using a lot of native stuff on this one. And I've got like a cool kind of, like lots of layers of bass sounds that I kind of use my gloves basically to bring them in and out of various different level points. So it's kind of like, well, I'll show you. I'm just going to try and, because I've got, this is for the live session, so it's actually got like a click going on in my earphones right now. Well, it was. I'm just going to mute out stuff that we don't need to listen to. Take out those. Okay, so basically, I've got my left-hand group, which wait, I'll do one thing at a time. So back to the beginning. Oh, I know why that is. Sorry, because I've got a different keyboard today, haven't I? There we go. So I basically got here this thing. So I've got, so it's basically filtering anything below this point. That's my center. Kind of filters down. I've got sustain at the moment on my finger. And then I've also got like, you kind of fade between different levels of sound. So. And then I've also got this thing called, so I've also got my vocal kind of reverb stuff and also on the bass. So. Oh, it's also got a filter cut off as well. And then I've also got, yeah, this kind of arpeggiator thing. So this is used, this is in Contact, and there is this thing that I developed with Sonic Couture, which is called the Box of Tricks, and it's basically loads of instruments from my home, so that I could bring them on the road with me, and play them all at once. So this one's got a cool thing called Jammer, which basically, like, you can hear what it's doing. It's kind of, and then you can do all kind of fun stuff. So this particular sound is I've got my Glockenspiel, and I've got another patch. So that's the Glockenspiel, which is when the roll is doing that. Oh, it's all right. Starting to play something. Okay, and then when I do this, you can see it's just I'm basically fading between the two different sounds. And this one's the boom whackers. Don't know if you can see a picture of these things. No, anyway, it's called some boom whackers. And then I've also got a little thing, just a sample, but I bring them in and out by wrist flicking. And then I do that to bring in samples that I've just clipped inside Ableton. So yeah, altogether it's kind of quite nice. Oh, 508, they break me apart again. In the space-time continuum, it buckles out and bends around your every twist and turn. I normally have a bigger keyboard. Before you came crashing in on that day. Crazy, beautiful you. Stacey, that kind of thing. So I'm not going to talk much more about the sessions because it's kind of, yeah, you get the idea. If you want to find out more about the gloves, you can go online. We've actually got a little kind of version for kids, which is called the MiniMe, and it's out now. No, you can pre-order it. I think it comes out in the beginning of November. And you can build it, code it yourself. It works with a microbit. And it will also be integrated with Glover, so you can do some pretty awesome things with a €39.95 thing instead of a bit more money for the gloves. So what I'd love to talk to you now about is actually stemming from this song. I'm just going to take my headphones out. I released this song like officially on like DSPs in 2016, but I actually did an experiment around in October 2015 in London. Thanks to Sonos, actually, Tom Panton, who was then working with Sonos, helped us have this space to do a little hack weekend in. And I discovered about this thing called blockchain technology. And it kind of changed my life because I've always been frustrated about how lots of data was incorrect online and that different agencies and organizations had different numbers for different songs or bad spelling or hadn't accounted for certain writers or musicians or acknowledging musicians and all that stuff. And when I discovered that there was this thing that was like a distributed ledger, something where everybody could potentially feed into their data. There's no like one person that owns it. It's a decentralized space. But that people, you could imagine the collection societies or the labels or the publishers or even artists directly, which is what we're moving towards, could author into this space and that everybody would be notified of a thing happening. So a new song comes into the world, you upload it once, and everybody knows about it at the same time. And then we don't have to have like 300 different collection societies, or however many there are, all having their own databases costing us essentially money. I wanted to talk to you about it's called Mycelia. So this is MI.MU. My label's called Megaphonic, and this is called Mycelia. Everything begins with M in my life: music, motherhood. Could I have my screen up? There we go. Oh, I don't have a clicker. Do I have a clicker? Oh, I do. Here it is. I can actually click with my gloves. I've done it once, but it was too much hassle to do. So that's an augmented play button. That's like, imagine seeing all the colors, all the information you could possibly want to know about a song. That's kind of what that means, like the RGB of all of the songs, all the information you could need. So this is what we released on, the usual DSPs a year later, and all you see there is the name of the artist, name of the song, maybe the time, and that's pretty much all you get. You don't see anything else, and maybe you get a pack shot. But really, as many of you will know, lots of other things go into the making of a track, including the gear that was used. It seems quite relevant today. The recording credits, like who else might have been on that. The correct lyrics, so annoying. Genius.com, people trying to put in what my lyrics are, but they're not the correct lyrics. But it's a start. What really annoys me about that is the inspiration bit, or what the song meaning is. I'm like, no, that is not the song meaning of Hide and Seek. And then, so recording credits. So all of these people really I would love them, everyone would love them to get a mention on, Spotify or whatever, so that all of these people could potentially point to the work they've been doing and aggregate that into what we call the creative passport. But I'm going to get to that in a minute. My mastering engineer that I use all the time is this guy, Simon Hayworth. He's absolutely brilliant. He masters in a cowshed in Devon, and I just love him, and I consider him part of my team. And then the gear used. So, yeah, it's got the box of tricks in there. It doesn't actually mention native, but I use Contact. And then, the instruments, a breast pump. I was 3 months a mummy at the time, and I had a baby who was very attached to me, and I really needed to create this song for Sennheiser at the time, and so I hired in a breast pump, like a kind of industrial breast pump, so I could get a good chunk of time in the studio. Anyway, I know that sounds weird now, but my head was in a very different place then. And she was crying a lot. And so this song is really, the tags on this song are like colic, anxiety, newborn baby. It's not like electronic, which is what somebody might class this song as, even though it's kind of all kinds of things really. But, electronic music, if that's all that we have as a genre to help people find our music, then you're just going to get lost in the sea of noise, aren't you? But if you had particular tags that were really relevant to your work, whether it was like running music or depression or whatever it might be, then other people could find your work with those specific tags. So the more unique your songs are, the more likely you are to be found above the noise. The less unique they are, the more kind of, I suppose, the harder it is to define what it is in the sea of noise. So I think that's good because it encourages us to be our unique selves. So here you might have the inspiration or the history. How I made the song was quite amusing in various ways, but I won't get into it. And then if you wanted to remix the song, or you wanted to listen to or read some press about it, or see the live performance that we did, doesn't say here, but we did it at. Well, we actually did it at Sonos, but it doesn't say there. So video credits, okay, onward. Andy Kahn, always work with him to do artwork, has a brilliant service called Streamliner, which maybe one day you'll find out about. So all of these data points all are ways that people could find this song. And in everything that we do, we all use gear, we all sometimes, well, we don't always collaborate, but there's always other people involved in how, whether it's just like, a distributor or whatever it might be, there's always other people in that chain. So how can we visualize them and help them as well? Help the people that are, adding to the work in a good way. So I thought, so basically on this day, it was like 2014, I think, maybe 2015, I can't remember, in October. And we basically put all of this data up for people to hack with and put in all the usage rights. If you're a fan, basically it means you could just use it for free because it was free. But if you did anything commercial with it, then these were the licenses. If you wanted to sync it, you basically couldn't do it for certain things because Sennheiser had a year exclusivity on it. Anyway, so we did as much as we could. And then if anyone had any questions, they contacted us directly. And then we also put in there, which we did with Ujo Music, they were like one of the blockchain gang that was with us hacking away. They developed the first smart contract with us so that the song could pay all the musicians instantly the minute anyone downloaded from their site. And that doesn't seem like that seems like an obvious thing to do. Like mp3.com back in the day did that, where it would just pay directly. And what's it called? Bit music? I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway. BitTunes, I'm pretty sure it does that too. But how to separately pay all the individual musicians was not something that was being done. So that was a really good example of how basically now we could have a system where the song is interacted with in any way, whether it's potentially on radio or played in a film, or anytime it's identified in the web space, it could instantly pay people. So that's very close. But we need to help it come along if there's musicians in the room, which I'm sure there are. So we basically only generated like £200 from that, because only 200 people at that time could figure out how to get an Ether wallet. So it was a bit kind of people who wanted to say, ha, Imogen's trying to change the music industry, were having a little laugh at that. But then they weren't laughing 2 years later when Ether went, whoosh, and suddenly £200 was like £200,000. Thank you very much. So that wasn't expected, but it basically went into the development of this piece of technology that we're developing for music makers to be a part of this future space. Because at the moment, this is the current kind of stream of flow. So you've got your broadcast, streaming, download, direct sync. This is in the UK, but if a song of mine was played here in Holland, then you'd have another layer on top of this and another probably year's wait before you receive your money. And that's just the way it had to be in the past, because we didn't have, the technology that we have, and the music industry is quite slow to adopt technology. But we need to help them with this. So imagine all the data around this song, Tiny Human, just bustling around and linking to this one place, and all the people that need to be paid, and all the people that need to know about that song and what it's doing can do that really easily. And then in return for that use of that song, you might say, as an artist, I would like to receive in kind of trade for that, or maybe as well as payment, where in the world it was played, what was the age group roughly, so it could help you plan a tour or decide on any marketing or whatever. I do actually think that we won't need marketing and advertising in the future because we'll have AI to help us connect the music to the listeners in a much better way. What do they call it? The intention economy. When you say, I want a new car, and only at that point do you get loads of adverts around new cars. So we don't see advertising in the same way again. So there's all my songs. There's around 250 of them now. Well, in November the 2nd, because I'm releasing another album which has got 48 tracks on it. But it's around the Harry Potter play, music from the Harry Potter play, but it's still pretty cool. So connected to that, to my name, you might link to my kind of mother spore, what we call the creative passport. And in here you would have all the other kind of global data about that artist that you might need to know. And then imagine that all of the songs and all of the music makers on the planet, whether you're mixing engineer, producer, DJ, whatever you are, you're there kind of in this space to be discovered, to shout above the noise, or to whisper above the noise. These mushrooms are kind of what I imagine would pop out of this. There's so many opportunities for new services. We have I think there's 300 streaming services. Yeah, not collection societies, there's 300 streaming services. But maybe we only could probably roll off about 6 of them. But imagine, this kind of environment where streaming services or any music service has the ability to innovate much easier with data, would be able to imagine new services without having to have those huge upfront fees that they currently have to pay for the work with the labels. So we could see a real flourishing in all kinds of other services. Am I going on? Oh, what? What's happened? Oh, I'm attached. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Karen, everyone. Karen Khan. Yes. Maybe this is a good opportunity. Thankfully, that was the tablecloth. But I've been given this dress by, I'm going to remember her name, Charlotte Buchanez. And she's from Amsterdam, and she's just gone through the kind of fashion school. What? Amphi, thank you. Amfin, and she's made this outfit. And everywhere I go, I'm not doing a show in Amsterdam, so I'm doing this. But I wear a different local artist's work, and so this is Charlotte Buchanez. So if you like her work, please go find her work. Anyway, this isn't the dress that's fraying, thankfully. So anyway, imagine all kinds of new services, and maybe you want to develop one. So when I was in the UK, I was trying to convince the music industry that we needed to set ethical, commercial, and technical standards, and we would realize this space, and the music industry would be emancipated, and fans would be able to contribute to the payment of tracks, and we might become the VCs of the future music industry by this data, the money that we're earning from our own data, and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, that wasn't really happening. So we decided in the meantime that maybe what we could do was just simply put all of the data that we're kind of talking about in one document. So we actually made a physical, looks like a passport, and we gave it out to 200 music industry types and music makers in London about a year ago. And we showed them that basically we're talking about this kind of data, your kind of headline stuff that you might want to share on any system. And that could be, for me, it'd be like the MI.MU Gloves. Another way for people to find me would be through Gesture and Musicware, or through a project that we're doing called The Life of a Song, which is mapping the music industry through the lens of one song. So you can see all the remuneration and all the biography and all the players, how much it cost, how much the song's earned over the last 12 years. You can go and look at that online, if you like. And then, load of other stuff, and that would be my unique identifier down there, because I have a Google one, a Twitter one, a Facebook one, probably still a MySpace one somewhere. I have what else? YouTube, Vimeo. I got all these identities, and one for PRS, and one for all these other ones, and PPL, and God knows what else. But I don't have one that belongs to me, and I could help all of them talk to each other if I would be activated as a data center for myself. So here you might have your biography. Imagine, as a music maker, being able to publish your biography in one place, and it updates all of the services on the planet. Wouldn't that be so nice? So you don't have to do it like over and over again or read out-of-date information about yourself, if you're even on there. I know there's a company called All Music, and they supply content to iTunes. I think it's for $500,000 a year for the biographical information. But I think my one is quite out of date, and I would like to be able to help with that because I know what I'm up to and I know what I've been doing. So you might see, what other kind of skill sets each of us have. We all have very different ones. I'm sure there's a few people in here who code, but I don't code. But I like to, do a bit of kind of surface programming and that kind of stuff. And then your interests. So these are all ways that collaborators, whether they're a brand or a film director or somebody working at CERN, it would be able to find you because you could show your interests. And the more unique and defined you are, the more people are going to find you. Because if you say you do everything, then you're just going to be there with everything, like everybody else maybe. So here you would also link to the apps and services you use. So I use something called MPAL, but it has another thing called MPro, which is subscription-based for music makers so that they can basically project plan their latest releases. And it's a kind of step-by-step guide. Anyway, it's really good. So it could be my place where any music maker could go and they could see all the different services that I use and go, oh, right, Imogen Heap uses MPro. I'm going to try that out. And you'd actually discover it's really good. Or you might find out about Vibrate, which is mapping the live music industry globally with all the promoters, all of the venues, all of the artists. It's really cool what they're trying to do, and that's all blockchain-based as well. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So you wouldn't actually host the material on your Creative Passport. You would link to or kind of potentially pay storage space on a blockchain with what we call nodes. But it's essentially just somebody else hosting that and you pay for that. But you give them permission when they should share that to somebody else. And that helps if you want to go into it another time. But it basically stops the services driving the music makers down directly and the price down, because we've got somebody else in between, which is wanting to keep the prices down for us for storage, but we want them to get as much money from the services as possible, but the services want to get the payment as low as possible. So if somebody over here is offering a service that's too low a fee, then we can go somebody else. Okay. Preferences. So, okay, basically, there's this thing coming. It's not ready yet. December the 9th, we hope to have a launch. So if any music makers here are like, this is kind of cool, I quite like the idea of this, it's free. It won't really do very much in the beginning, but this is the grand plan. And if basically nobody else is doing it for us. If we want to have a company do it for us, they'll do it for profit, it'll cost money, and it'll probably be some kind of monopoly in the future. This is an open source project, so people can build on our work and develop their own Creative Passport, and that's fine. All we want to see is this ecosystem come to life where we can actually enter into the system as music makers and author into what is going to emerge very soon, which is an open database of songs and works. So that we don't have to, if we don't want to, go through a label or a publisher, or just make it easy for the label or publisher to publish to one point. So you would, so many things. It's basically your entire life work in one place, linking there. And the idea is that you wouldn't maybe have to type in all that stuff if you're already somebody that's released like 20 songs or 200 songs or 2 songs. If that data is out there, there's a way in this ecosystem that we can incentivize the people who hold the data to publish the data, to get paid for the data, maybe 1 token per bit of data, but the music maker that it refers to retains quite a lot of that percentage of that data, but that the person who's published it also receives money for that data. So that's hopefully how we might encourage the services to push their own data there, whether that's somebody like Discogs or the PRS or whatever it might be. Okay, because you all will have different things. Maybe you haven't worked with Taylor Swift, but maybe you've worked with, who knows? And maybe you've worked with not these brands, probably not anyone in here maybe, who's worked with the C&G Baby Club. But because I did an experiment of how to make music for under 2s to make them as happy as possible. And it's called the Happy Song. And actually, after Hide and Seek, it's my most played track. So don't knock it. And then, yeah, I didn't ever go to college, but I have worked with a few universities, but maybe some people here got diplomas. That could be useful, you never know. And et cetera, et cetera. Because this is you, this is your life, and you've done so much, and you can do so much. And there's loads of people out there who just don't know that you're there yet. And we really think that this can help them find you. So yeah, if you want to join in, it's just myceliaformusic.org. And if you want to download the passport when it's ready, it's going to be around December the 9th, and you can download it. And then you can start to verify one another. Because there's no you don't have to be part of a label or have any kind of existing identity. You can literally just download it, find somebody else with a creative passport who knows you as a musician or as an engineer or whatever, part-time guitarist, whatever you are, and then you are linked into the system. So the system becomes trusted because of the connections that we make. And we can, I won't go into that, but there's all kinds of ways that we can map how true that connection system is if we, say, mapped it with a older kind of musician collections about who's related to who by liner notes of existing albums, which has developed a thing called Streamliner by Andy Kahn over here, who's finding a way to extract all data from existing liner notes and pre-populating creative passports with that data to save us time. But it also creates mappings of who's related to who. So if there isn't, I've really got to go. I've got 10 minutes. Okay, thank you. It's fine. So anyway, we're doing a tour, every week, and on December the 9th, you can download it. You could potentially host your own creative passport party. You can invite other musicians. You could be scanned in by me. Well, I don't maybe know many of you, but maybe I know one person in here. 5 minutes. Okay, it's going quick. Right, okay. Anyway, December the 9th. Just check out our website, and if you want to take part.